When he talked, I immediately saw that he was a scholar, that he spoke with great conviction. Some statements he made were very daring. He was talking about God, and this was all new to hear someone talk about God. I always wanted to say I could respect. Well, here is someone talking about God whom I really have some realization of God.
Place a platform of working in pure consciousness. We have already discussed for so many days that we are not this dull body, but we are in contact with matter. Therefore, our freedom is better now than it had been uptown. The loft offers a larger space where Prabhupada sits nearly equals the area of his entire office cubicle on 72nd Street. The dingy loft with its unpainted rafters is more like a temple. The members of his, most of them musicians, have come to meditate on the mystical sounds of the Swami's Kirtana. Carl, Harold, Gunther, Mike, David, and the crowd from the Paradox and others join him on Monday, Wednesday, and when he holds classes beginning punctually at 8 o'clock. The program consists of in Hare Krishna, followed by a lecture from Bhagavad Gita, usually 45 minutes long, then a question, half an hour of chanting, everything ending by 10 o'clock. The Kirtana was just ended and Swami Ji is speaking. As spiritual beings, we are free to act, free to have anything. Pure, no contamination, no birth, no death, no old age. And besides that, we have got many other qualifications in our spiritual life. When he speaks, he is pure spirit. A sadhu, a saint, is not seen but heard. If the people in the audience want to know Swamiji, they will have to hear him. He is no longer simply the old Indian immigrant other side of the partition of this loft, hanging his clothes to dry, barely getting his meals. But now he is speaking as the emissary of Lord Krishna beyond time and space, and hundreds of spiritual masters in the chain of disciplic succession are speaking through him. He has amid New York's Bohemians in 1966, saying 1966 is temporary and illusory, that he is eternal and they are eternal. This was the meaning of the Kirtana, and now he is explaining it philosophically, advocating a total change in consciousness. Yet, knowing that they can't take it all, he urges them to take whatever they can. Somebody else would like to read?
Haribol?
Yeah, Rina, or maybe it's too late already. I don't know. Yeah, you're
I'm
there.
off tonight. You will be glad to hear that this process of spiritual realization, once begun, guaranteed one to have us as a human being. Once karma yoga is begun, it will continue. It doesn't matter, even if one failed to complete the course. Still, he is not loser. Now, if someone begins this yoga of self-realization, but unfortunately cannot protect in a nice way, if he falls down from the path, still there is encouragement that you are not a loser. You will be given a chance next life, and the next life is not ordinary next life. And for one who is successful, oh, what to speak of him? The successful goes back to Godhead. So we are holding this clause. And although you have multifarious duties, you come here thrice a week, and this will not go in vain. Even if you stop coming here, that impression will never go. Our attention will never go. If you do some practical work, this is very, very nice. But even if you do not do any practical work, simply if you give your submissive oral reception and understanding what is the nature of God, if you simply hear and have an idea even, then you will be free from this material bondage. He is talking to a crowd who are deeply set in their hip life. He knows that they can't immediately give up taking drugs, and there they sit with their common law wife. The path is to play with them woman and be free. After hearing the lectures, they will stay up all night with their instrument, their woman, their drug, their interactual bomania scenes. Yet somehow they are drawn to Swamiji. He's got the good vibration of the Kirtana, and they want to help him out. They are glad to help because he has no one else. So Prabhupada is saying to them, right, even if you can only do a little, it will be good for you. We are all pure spirit soul, burden. You have fallen into the cycle of birth and death. Whatever you can do toward reviving your original consciousness is no loss. The Swami's main street is on what he called dovetailing your consciousness with the Supreme Consciousness. Krishna is the Supreme Consciousness, and Arjuna as a representative individual consciousness is asked to act intelligently and collaboration with the Supreme Consciousness. And he will be free from the bondage of birth, death, old age, and disease. Consciousness is a popular word in America. There's consciousness, altered state of consciousness, and now devoting the consciousness with the Supreme Consciousness. This is a perfection of consciousness. Prabhupada explained. This is the love and peace that everyone is really after. And yet Prabhupada talks of it in terms of war. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Tabur Prabhu, would you like to read?
Yes. They are talking on the battlefield, and Arjuna says, I will not fight relatives and brothers for the sake of achieving some kingdom. No, no. Now, to the ordinary man, it appears that, oh, Arjuna is a very nice man, non-violent. He has given up everything for sake of, oh, what a nice man he is. That is the ordinary calculation. But what does Krishna say? He says, you are damned fool, number 3. The things which are estimated in the public eyes are very nice, very good. That is here condemned by God. Whether the Supreme Consciousness is pleased with your actions, and Arjuna's action was not approved by Lord Krishna. It was for his own whim, sense gratification, that at first and for Krishna's satisfaction he did fight. And that is or perfection, when we act for the satisfaction of the Supreme Consciousness. At this point, auditions are filled all opposite the role of the United States in Vietnam. And this idea is very difficult for them. Like Arjuna, they want peace. So why is Swami sanctioning war? He explains. Yes, Arjuna's idea not to fight is good, but then Krishna, the Supreme Consciousness, instructs him to fight anyway. Therefore, Arjuna's fighting is above mundane ethics. It's absolute. If we give up good and bad and act for Krishna's sense gratification, then that is perfect, because Krishna is Supreme Consciousness. To some audience seems philosophical sound, it's not quite what they want to hear. Still, they want to know his political views. Does he support America's involvement in Vietnam? But Prabhupada is having no doubt. He has no political motive behind his example of Krishna and Arjuna. His theme beyond the good and the bad is the absolute, and to act in accord with the absolute is also beyond good and bad. But what about Vietnam? Does Krishna say to fight there? No, Swamiji answers. The Vietnam War is different from the Kurukshetra War. In the Battle of Kurukshetra, Krishna was personally asking Arjuna to fight. Vietnam is different. But his audience has yet another objection. If he is not addressing the Vietnam's war, then why not? After all, this is 1966. If he isn't talking about the war, then what is his relevancy? The Swami replies that his message is actually the most urgent. Vietnam's war was an inevitable karmic reaction. It was one symptom, not the core problem. And only this philosophy, surrender to the Supreme Consciousness, address the real problem. But for many, the reference to fighting is the immediate politics of Vietnam to Prabhupada's real message of surrender to the Supreme Consciousness. They respect the Swami. They realize he is referring to the deeper philosophy. Yet, the story of Arjuna and the war makes things difficult. The Swami Arjuna as the classic example of Bhagavad Gita's basic teachings. It's not the basic teaching having difficulty with, it's the example. Prabhupada has deliberately handed his audience a volatile analogy. He hasn't come to join their peace moment. He doesn't accept their short-sighted concept of peace. He confronts them. It is better to fight righteousness than to live in a so-called peace devoid of God realization. Yes, the example is hard for them to accept. It makes them think, and if they do then they might come near to understanding the Absolute. Next.
Go ahead. Is it very difficult dovetailing our consciousness with the Supreme Consciousness? Not at all. Not at all. No sane man will. Oh, it is not possible. He isn't suggesting that to dovetail with the Supreme Consciousness they will have to fight in Vietnam or perform some other horrible act on behalf of God. He knows that spiritual life will have to be more attractive than material life, or his audience will never take to it. He wants to bring the theme of dealing with the Supreme Consciousness down to something practical, something all attractive and beautiful, something anyone could do and would want to do. He wants to encourage them by saying that they can do their own thing, but not for Krishna. Arjuna, after all, was a lifetime warrior.
But
Krishna
for
didn't ask
Krishna. Sirami, you said, but not Krishna.
but for Krishna. Arjuna, after all, was a lifetime warrior. Krishna didn't ask him to give up his work, but to do it for the Supreme. So Prabhupada is asking the same of his audience. And they can begin with something as simple as offering their food to God. Because everyone has to sit, so God wants, why don't you first offer your food to God? Then you eat. But you may say, but if God takes it away, then how shall I eat? No, food stuff we are offering to Krishna. There is a witness. Mr. David has seen. Prabhupada loves. God eats, but his spiritual is such that even after he's eating, the whole thing is still there. And we shall not suffer a pinch if we dovetail our desires with the Supreme Lord. We simply have to learn the art how to dovetail. Nothing has to be changed. The fighting man did not change into an artist or a musician. If you're fighting a fighting man, you remain a fighting man. If you're a musician, you remain a musician. If you're a medical man, you remain a medical man. Whatever you are, you remain. But dovetail it. If by my eating the Lord is satisfied, then that is my perfection. If by fighting the Lord is satisfied, then that is my perfection. So in every sphere of life, we have to know whether the Lord is satisfied. That technique we have to learn. Then it is as easy as anything. Then we have to stop creating our own plans and thoughts and take the perfect plans from the Supreme Lord and execute them, perfection of our life. And Lord Chaitanya has made acting on the platform of consciousness very easy, just as there are some note makers of school books easy study. So Lord Chaitanya has engaged in whatever occupation, but just hear about Krishna. Nothing. No, continue to hear the Bhagavad Gita and chant. It is for this that we're trying to organize this institution. So you have come and whatever work you do, it doesn't matter. Everything will be adjusted by and by, as our mind becomes simply by hearing. If you continue this process, chanting the Krishna name, you will how much your heart is becoming clear and how much you are making progress towards spiritual realization, the real identity of pure consciousness. Would you like to read, Lalita?
There's nobody left?
I think, yeah, no. I think Praveen and Gurmu Prabhu left. I
Okay.
don't.
Prabhupada is speaking on behalf of the Supreme Consciousness, and he offers his day-to-day activities as an example of dovetailing with the Supreme. I am here always working at something, reading or writing, reading or writing 24 hours. Simply when I feel hungry, I take some food, and simply when I feel sleepy, I go to bed. Otherwise, I don't feel Mr. David whether I'm not doing this. Of course, the Swami's daily routine doesn't require a certification from David Allen, and any of his regular visitors can see that he is transcendental. His personal life is a perfect example of dovetailing with the Supreme. Prabhupada has always kept himself dovetailed with the Supreme. He had been perfectly dovetailed in Vrindavan also, and had no personal need or motive to come to America and live on the Bowery. It was for their sake that he came to the Bowery, and it is for others' benefit that he is speaking tonight. His spiritual master and Lord Krishna want the conditioned souls to come out of their illusion before it is too late. Speaking vigorously, even until he becomes physically exhausted, sometimes shouting, sometimes pleading, sometimes laughing, he gives his audience as much as he feels they can take. As the emissary of Krishna and the disciplic succession, he can boldly shout that everyone should dovetail with the Supreme. He can speak for as long as they're willing to listen. He is a sadhu. The Sanskrit word means saint and one who cuts. And he repeats the same message that for thousands of years sadhus of the original Vedic culture have spoken. He is reviving wisdom to cut the knots of ignorance and illusion. So everything is illusion from the beginning of our birth. And that illusion is so strong, it is very difficult to get out of. The whole thing is illusion. Birth is illusion, the relationship and the country are illusion. The father is illusion, the mother is illusion, the wife is illusion, the children are illusion, everything is illusion. And we are contacting that illusion, thinking we are very learned, advanced. We're imagining so many things. But as soon as death comes, the actual fact, then we forget everything. We forget our country, we forget our relatives, we forget our wife, children, father, mother, everything is gone. Should we read 2 more minutes? Or end at this section?
I will go ahead, Mataji.
Oh, okay.
And I went up to him afterwards. I had the same feeling I would had on other occasion when I would been to hear famous people in the concerts. I was always interested in going by after concerts to see musicians and singers just to meet them and see what they were like. I had a similar feeling after Swamiji spoke, so I went up and started talking. But the experience was in that he wasn't in a hurry. He could talk to me, whereas with others, all you could do was get in a few words. They were always more interested in he was a person who was actually showing some interest in me as a person, and I was so overwhelmed that I ran out of very quickly. I was surprised. Our meeting broke off on the basis of my not having anything further to say. It was just the opposite of so many other experiences, where some performers would be hurrying off to do something else. This time I was the one who couldn't continue. It's 8 o'clock. Should I go ahead or should we stop here?
I think probably stop there. It's at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Section line, so that's nice. We'll be able to find it again.
Yeah.
Jai! Lilamrita ki jai!
Right.
That was another
Jai.
great section, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Jai.
awesome.
Awesome. Yeah.
I really like the parts where Michael Grant, who of course is Mukunda Maharaj, talks about the situation. You really get a kind of a good understanding or feeling what's going on, you know, and the kind of surprise that he has in that occasion, how different to him when Swamiji came. And it's just great the way he's able to kind of project himself back into that occasion and represent it very nicely. I really like his speaking.
Yeah, it's so nice.
Yeah, that's really nice part. Yeah.
Yeah.